Well, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot harder. There's a lot when it goes into it. Like, you gotta make sure you got your sources right. You gotta make sure you're keeping an audience. You gotta make sure that,
I might be able to get up there if you
like, you have to make sure that your podcast stays, not relevant, but like, what's the word? Not current, but like, because there's a certain, like, there's a certain thing you to keep it, like, on the yeah, kinda. You gotta make sure, like, and all, you gotta make sure all that, and you gotta make sure if you don't know how to produce a podcast free, so there's that. So this, like, yeah, but like, I don't know. It's like, I guess it's a lot harder than people would normally make it out to be. I mean, like, there's a lot. There's a lot that goes into a podcast. You gotta make sure you have, because you have to have a certain amount of listeners to stay on Apple Podcasts, or you have to, because Apple Podcasts is not gonna let you have a show on their platform if you have like one listener. So that's a waste of space, but. Mm. Yeah. Like, I have I listen to a podcast, anime podcast. It's called AAA Podcast. It's, Anime Addicts Anonymous. You know, it's a joke on Addicts Anonymous. Yeah.
Great. I'll head across for a better look.
It's a joke on, like, Alcohol Addicts Anonymous or Addicts Anonymous or whatever. So it's Anime Addicts Anonymous. It's like you're addicted to anime instead of alcohol, and their job is to make your addiction worse. When a normal AA meeting is to help your addiction better, but that podcast is to help make your anime addiction worse. And they've been on for quite a while. Like, I think they're on. I can actually look up podcasts and see what episode they're on. And they do it weekly, so they do a podcast every Sunday at like 4:30 Central. Yeah, they're weekly, and I think they had like 669 episodes, something crazy like that. And so 669 weeks is like a good at least 10 years. So, well, because it's only 52 weeks in a year. So, like, 600 is like 12 at least. Like, 669 is like 12. I think this is, hold on, Apple. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? There you are. I gotta listen to that podcast too. I have a professional wrestling podcast I listen to. It's run by it's by a guy by the name of Sam Roberts, and he's really good. You ever heard of Paul Feinbaum? No. Hello. You ever heard of Paul Feinbaum? Paul Feinbaum? He's a no. Um. He's a he has a show and he has a podcast that's on TV, and he does sports like college football and stuff. And I was gonna be like, Sam Roberts is the Paul Feinbaum of professional wrestling, but that's not telling you nothing if you don't know who Paul Feinbaum. Basically, he knows his wrestling like in and out. He's been watching it ever since he was a kid, and like he knows in and out. He knows. He sometimes has interviews with some of the wrestlers. You know, like, and then like he actually has real content, and that's, you know, yeah, he actually tries, and he actually has a source. I'm not saying that people don't try, but it's like, you know, some people just try to do a podcast and they just throw stuff out there. When like these people that I listen to, they actually try to get that source material and try to keep their listeners and try to keep it interesting. Like sometimes the anime podcasts I listen to, they have some of the listeners come up on the podcast every now and then as a guest and like interact with them and play like a game or something. Like, does Misaki Moms know? Because there's a guy on a podcast, his code name is Misaki, and I think that's his real name. I don't know. It's Misaki, and then Misaki's mom just now started watching anime. So the name of the game is Does Misaki's Mom Know? So like his mom like is on the call, and then she gets muted. So a person can like they ask the guest the questions, and then like it's like does Misaki Moms know this is this, and then they unmute, and then they ask her those questions, and if she answers them correctly or incorrectly, like let's say the guest says yes, he does know that answer, and then Misaki's mom gets the answer right, then the guest gets the points because he's like, you guessed right. Like his mom did know that. And I just think it's kind of cool how they like keep people watching, because it's like they keep people watching, like because it's like at any moment like you could be chosen as a guest. So it's like that's why they've been able to be on air for so long, because like, you know, the chance of actually being on the podcast is worth watching. It's just something about running a podcast. I mean, it's easier for some people, but then like for like the professional podcasts and like the anime podcast I'm listening to and like the wrestling podcast I was talking about. There's like a lot more that goes into it. I mean, yeah, anybody could get on the podcast and just talk about just random stuff and have a lot of listeners. But
might you be able to freeze it?
was I trying to do something? I mean, no. I don't know why the signal was cutting in and out. I mean, yeah, like, anybody, like, it takes a lot. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is easier to make a podcast, but it's harder to, like, keep it going, keep people interested. Because you have so many people that's like, it's easier to start a podcast than it is to keep a podcast. Cause yeah, like I could start a podcast and just talk about just random stuff without doing all this extra preparing. Then like yeah, I'm popular for like maybe a year, but then I'll fall off the map because it's kind of like a news station that's like filmed in a garage, right? Like maybe at some point it'd be like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool, but after a while it's like, yeah. So like, it's hard. It's kind of hard to keep a podcast because you got to keep people's interest and it's. I mean, that's what I mean by it's not simple. So yeah, I mean, anybody can do it. I'm not saying they can't. I'm just saying it's hard to keep it up. think anybody will listen to him because he's full of ish, but
That was close. Try again.
yeah, I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, I don't think people will actually listen to this podcast, but, you know, I might be surprised.
I hope you can make that jump.
Oh, yeah.
It's another one of those wooden troughs. I wonder how the dwarves thought of stuff like this.
Aye. Might be the great motivator of convenience. Why do the work when you can get wet stuff to do it for you?
Sure hope Tyr's here.
Atreus, we seek information.
I know. Stop acting like I'm trying to start a war.
Yet you do not say otherwise.
Brothers, maybe we can lay this to rest a bit, eh?
I don't know. I just think you need to have people skills to run a podcast. I don't know. Because even though you're not talking directly to people, you're talking to people. Still. Yeah. Like, people don't think you need people skills because you're not talking directly to people. Like, in person, but you're still, you know, talking to people.
Heavier than I thought. Thanks. Keep moving.
Looks like we found Durlin's mine entrance.
Mm-hmm. Still communicating with people, yeah. Like spreading information or, yeah.
Got something else for you.
So you can't just get on the podcast and be like, hey losers, y'all suck. Like, nobody's gonna listen.
No way of seeing exactly what I'm
Like, nobody's gonna listen to, nobody's gonna listen to somebody who's insulting them.
Thanks, Sindri. Hey, wait, what do you mean by untold horrors?
Does that make sense?
Look out! Jump up!
And he would also lose his, like the platform he's on might like the platform might like cancel his podcast because of the presidential, like, you know, it's like somebody getting on the news and saying something racist. Right, that news station is not gonna last long, or the person who works there is not gonna last long. Certified, you have to have a certain kind of to stay certified. You have to have like there's some things you can and can't say on the air, like legally. Like legally, you can't call somebody a moron over the radio. You can call somebody a moron on TV, but you can't call somebody a moron over the radio. Not legally. Well, you're not supposed to. Like, I mean, you know, like, there's just certain things you can't say on the air. Because you will get canceled. Like, you can't, like, I mean, you can, like, if you want to, you're not gonna keep your listeners, but if you want to, you can call people stupid and dumb, but you just can't say moron. I don't know why. Well, I mean, people do it, you're not supposed to, but... It's one of those things where, like, you're not supposed to, but people do it anyway. So, yeah.
Right, you watch out!
Well, looks like the official entrance to the mine is blocked.
Like, yeah, you're not supposed to say moron on the radio or a podcast. But for some reason, you can say it on TV. But you can't say it on the radio for some reason. I don't know why.
Maybe this
Well, yeah, like I said, you're not supposed to. People do it, you're not supposed to. And people who do it end up losing their podcast at some point.
This is the mine.
Because if, like, you do something that's against the law or something like that, you know, the platform you're on gets the blame for it because they're allowing it on their platform. It's kind of like at the center, like about room checks and clean rooms. Like, you know, when they don't write us up for having a clean room, for having a dirty room, they get in trouble with Miss Connie or like the head dorm person because they're allowing us to have a dirty room. Yeah, they're allowing us to have dirty rooms, so they get in trouble. So, Apple Podcasts, if you keep like saying moron on the platform, they're gonna get rid of your podcast because that makes them look bad, and then they can get in trouble if they allow it.
Brother, that groom's found a perch on high.
So it's just one of those. Yeah, it's one of those thing that's not you're going to jail. I mean, you won't go to jail for it, but you can get fined for it, and you won't be able to have your podcast much longer because if a platform allows you to keep doing that, and the podcast keeps getting reported, because people are going to report you, let's say more on the radio. I've seen it happen. People who like, and then then Apple Podcast keeps getting reported, and then they might Apple Podcast might lose their certification. Yeah, it's a whole thing. So like, yeah, that's things that you can't. That's the thing that you can and can't say on the radio. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you can't just get on the radio and just say a bunch of shit. Yeah, that's how you get canceled.